live stream. Yeah, there's live stream. Oh, yeah. I think we're on now.
Oh,
All right, all
amazing.
right. Yeah, so we're on. All right, welcome everyone. I think we have people coming in right now, so let's give them a couple more minutes. Yep.
This is so cool.
So I think for those of you who are joining now, I think it'd be great if you can like kind of share while we're waiting for other people to join. Just like kind of like a putting my Sasha hat here because I mean Sasha is always running the show and I'm doing the role now. So
It is so hard for
like
me
if you
not to
can
do this
share.
right now.
I know, I'm such an amateur, but if you can share where you're dialing in from, how's the weather? We just talked about the weather, before you guys joined, and I hear it's pouring in London. But where are you guys coming in and share the weather? I think that'd be really cool.
And if you're drinking a fun beverage, I'm
Exactly.
having,
Yeah, that's another important
so one of my
question,
other
right?
ones, I have a Trip Mindful Blend Sparkling Water, cherry lemon
Yeah,
flavored. Kevin, don't be flexing your sunshine on me. It is pouring rain right now.
Santa Cruz, right? So if you can also share what's your go to drink. Oh, Sasha, by the way, I almost said go to market because I say that word so
I,
much.
I felt your
So
brain go there. I was like, he's gonna say go to market. Tell me your favorite go to market strategy.
what is your go to market drink? So for me personally, I always go for decaf latte. I probably like those of the people who know me. I always go for decaf latte because I love coffee, but I want to control my caffeine intake. So I always go for decaf latte. And these days, I started trying matcha latte, which
Love
supposedly
the matcha.
has caffeine, but it's better. So yeah,
I think I'm maxed out of my coffee today. So we're going with the mindful beverage today. But yeah, I'm a matcha
yeah,
girl. Love my vanilla matcha. I had a pistachio matcha the other day, and that was really nice. That was really
yeah.
nice.
We have poppy sodas. We
Love
have
poppies,
yeah,
creatine.
BCAA beverage, very healthy. And generally, I think we have sunny weather from Orlando, Florida, San Diego. New York City, I hear it's really, really cold. Um, but all right, all right.
The thing that makes me happier is knowing that New York has it worse. So I'm like, it's fine. I'm like, it's worse there. It's
Yeah,
fine. I'm
yeah.
not covered in snow.
Um, I know. Yeah, it's like I mean, it's been really extreme this year, though, right? Pretty much everywhere.
Mhm.
Like even LA, like it like poured a lot for like 3 days, and then now it's been like a really dry. California has that problem. It's like either flooding or completely dry.
Flooding, burning, or dry.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's get kind of
Let's do
started here.
this.
Yeah, let's do this. Thanks again for your time, Sasha. And I've been looking forward to, like really looking forward to this chat. And today we're going to talk a little bit about. So the main topic here is obviously like, content creation and how to like use content for your personal branding, establishing thought leadership. So that's going to be the main topic. But first, I want to start from you, Sasha. And, like I'll let you introduce yourself, but really quick, Sasha is running community at Hubble. And by the way, Hubble, like I'm a member of Hubble as well. So I'm not turning this into like Hubble commercial here, but I can, talk really, all day long about Hubble. It's an amazing community. It's where founders, marketers, like really any profession, they can bring their problems or questions, and like they get matched with these people who have experienced before. So it's like for founders, for example, they're encountering a lot of new problems, but there's all these people who have done it like 10 times over, right? So it's like for them, it's a very familiar problem. So it's like they bring their questions, and there's all these people who can help you with that. So amazing community, not just like one-on-one conversation, but Hubble has cohort, So I'm part of a cohort, which is a community of its own. So I'll let you talk a little bit about Hubble in a second, of course. But yeah, let's start from you. So for those people who may not be as familiar, can you introduce yourself a
Yeah.
little bit? What has been your journey? Yeah.
And as Kat says, we do love CK. So I'm Sasha, and I'm still working on a good introduction for myself because it definitely is a struggle. But I'm an organizational psychologist by background, study psychology and neuroscience. And I've always been very passionate about people performance. I was a lead athlete for over 16 years, which is crazy to say and think. And that has been such a huge part of my career and my journey. I'm an ex-founder as well, so I know the founder journey very well and the failures of the founder journey because I ended up stepping away from my startup and doing my master's in organizational psychology, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. And yeah, as you said, I am the head of community at Hubble, which is an incredible platform for founders to get advice from people who've been there and done that. It is it's a lonely journey. It's a hard journey. And, why not make it easier for yourself instead of spending a lot of time on ChatGPT trying to figure out if your pitch deck is fundable? Going to someone, like yourself who actually has been there and done that and being able to get the advice that you need to just like move on and move faster. I'm a venture partner. I do a lot of stuff in the London ecosystem around startups and community building. It's just been a huge joy of mine being able to connect different people to bring different partnerships to life and to tell the story. I'm a storyteller naturally, and being able to do that, through content has been one of the best things I think I found, and a way to really open doors and to build connections with people that you just don't have access to in general. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm a big fan of CK and what Say Wise is doing. So I'm really excited to get into this.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about your start. Like, how did you get into startup in the first place? Because I'm assuming that hey, when you were playing sports, you weren't necessarily thinking about okay, it's like I'm going to start join a startup. So yeah, what has been the journey there, and yeah, what happened?
Yeah, so my startup journey started, I guess, in a way, yes and no. So my startup journey started technically when I was, I guess, in middle school and high school. So as an elite athlete, I was training for, I'm going to say between 4 to 6 hours, a day, multiple times a week, 5 to 6 days a week. And being a young female during that time, I developed different eating disorders, was just over exercising, under eating, ended up losing my cycle for about 4 years and never really realized that was a problem until going to some doctors and they're like, actually, you should probably get that checked out. But no one really told me how. It was either medication or just, just eat more. And over those years, we tried everything, different diets, different exercise plans, but still maintained the level of performance that I needed. And nothing worked. I went to college, and through a whole circus of events, ended up like getting it back, and just then basically went through puberty again at the age of 19 and 20, which was not fun. And when I started actually looking into the biology, into the neuroscience of women's health, I realized how much we're not told, and ended up connecting with someone, funny enough, based in London. And we decided to tackle that and build an app for women to understand their bodies better, to understand their performance better, especially for female athletes, and to combat what's known as the female athlete triad. And long story short, it was an incredible experience. We went through Techstars, and just that was one hell of a journey. If you've been through Techstars, you kind of know you learn it by fire. And the end result was me realizing that I actually don't love being behind a screen, just like coding and like bringing something to life, even though I wasn't on the technical side, but it wasn't for me. But what was for me was supporting founders, was ended up being like the founder psychologist for my cohort of people coming to me for advice and to help them. And didn't realize I can actually do that for, career, and fell into organizational psychology. But during that time, the thing that I think we missed and that I totally missed was building a personal brand. and the go-to-market strategy that is distribution. And especially in that time, which was around 2022, that it's all about distribution. You can build the best product in the world, and we were spending so much time trying to build the product, but there's, who are you going to sell it to? And so I think that was the biggest thing that I personally missed, and I'm trying to revert back and build that now.
Hmm. Gotcha. So yeah, before we move on to the next topic, so curious. So you're talking about the psychology, founder psychology and mental health a lot, and I think your LinkedIn profile says six pack mindset. So tell us a little bit more about, so like what are some of the obviously, like, everybody has different problems, but do you see like a common pattern where, hey, founders, like the top, like, mental health problem or like issues or blocks that they encounter? What do you
Yeah.
typically see? Like, hey, like this is one common thing that you see from founders, and like every time you see the founders like suffering from this, and then do you have any tip for how to like overcome that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the six pack mind kind of came out of this realization one day that as an athlete, you spend so much time building your body and getting six pack abs. But then at the end of the day, what matters, or like what's going to take you to that next level, what's going to differentiate you from, your peers, really is your mindset, especially in tennis, which is an individual sport. That was the thing that at the end of the day, when people won, it wasn't that you were better or like physically, but it really came down to head to head, who can mentally outmatch the other person. Startups is the same thing. When you are a founder, you're an athlete, and you need to prepare yourself in the same way. So some of the things that you notice, ego is the biggest one, right? Especially when you have multiple co-founders, especially when you are navigating, a different industry or an industry that you know really well and are very attached to, is ego. And not being able to really think about other people's perceptions or their, what's what I'm looking for, their experiences and things like that. The other thing is obviously anxiety. All the founders in here, do you have anxiety? Like put a little, I don't know if you can do emojis or like little ones in the chat or whatever that is, but anxiety is definitely one of the biggest uh, mental health conditions that founders face. I believe the statistics are around 87% of founders experience regular anxiety. This is a bit more morbid one, but founder suicide is around 3.3 times higher than any other other industry. Because of the identity attached to said project, of like bringing something to life. There's a lot at stake. Oftentimes, a lot of financial there's a lot of financial risks at stake, and it's definitely a really hard one. Depression as well, lack of sleep. You kind of name it. I'm sure many founders in here are experiencing it. And the thing that it comes down to is your nervous system. And it's something I harp on all the time. And I've noticed, in the times when I'm really busy and definitely overstretch myself, it's coming down into the nervous system. And for me, it's breath work is the thing that always makes me feel like a human again. And that can be as simple as, just a box breath, which is, inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and hold for 4 counts. That's like the biggest sort of it's called the liquid Xanax, of just the breath Xanax. And that's been the biggest help for me. What are the other things? I'm really bad at sleep. That's like the thing I will always say is, I'm working on that. I'm working on sleep. I love, yeah. It's hard when you love what you do. You definitely just, I overstay up. So sleep is the biggest
Yeah.
thing, and same thing with movement. Those are the two things I'm working to get back into, because I know just how impactful they are.
Yeah. Like I heard someone said, yeah, if you want to be a startup founder, you got to be a professional sleeper. You got to be like a really professional at sleeping, and
I love
like
that.
yeah. So it's like not easy, right? Because you have to have the I guess structure. Like I was listening to Brian Johnson, the Don't Die guy, and then he said, oh, like sleep is the biggest like lever you can have for longevity, and then his routine is like go to bed at like 8:30 p.m. And I'm like, okay, easy to say that. Like who can go to bed at 8:30 p.m., right? It's really hard. Yeah.
No, it's hard. But it's needed. And that's something that I've started to put timers on my phone for like
Hmm.
bedtime. Otherwise, you just get
Yes.
distracted. And I'm an easily distracted person. So sleep is important. But no, yeah, the six pack mindset, it was really came out of my own need to be able to articulate what I was seeing, what I experienced. And it's been a fun project to really
Hmm.
slowly build out and talk about.
Hmm. Cool. And for those people who are joining now, feel free to drop any questions because we'll get to the questions later on. So yeah, any questions about Sasha's journey, or any questions about like personal branding, how to use LinkedIn better, so on and so forth. Yeah, please feel free to drop the questions here. So yeah, let me get to go to the next question, which is about the intrapreneurship. So you were involved in entrepreneurship, and then you said you realized, hey, you have passion in helping other founders, right? And then by being intrapreneur, you're also like helping the organization, other people in the team. So can you tell us a little bit about that transition from doing your own startup to like being an entrepreneur? So when did you realize that was your kind of like passion, and compare that to like how is there like a common thing and different things about founding your own company versus like helping other people or being part of this team for a startup?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. So, does everyone know what an entrepreneur is? I would love to know in the chat because it's a term that I found out, I think, about a year and a half ago. And it changed the way that I view life, especially as someone who is very multi-passionate, who loves doing different things. And yeah, being an entrepreneur wasn't the right thing for me at that time. And same thing being in corporate. I did a 10-month stint as a headhunter in London, and that was a very fast, not for me. And just the structure, the rigidity, the lack of heart and life. Even though I love the team and I love the people, it was just like, not for me. And I forgot where I learned the term, but it basically an entrepreneur is someone who builds within an already existing structure. So you can be an entrepreneur within a McKinsey and say like you are building out an entire, a new section or a new segment for them, or you're building out, a digital creator thing within a company. It really is just kind of a way to describe someone who is able to build something within an already existing structure. And it takes a little bit of the pressure off where you're not, building that thing, but you're supporting and you're kind of being a champion of whatever industry that is. If you're building out, a tech feature within a cosmetic company, if you're building, an app feature within a hospitality thing, like being able to own a little bit of a little section of that is just such a cool feeling, and just it makes you, I don't know, work. I think work so much harder because it's kind of like your little baby and you're wanting to really see that be brought to life. And that kind of goes along like hand in hand with what I call is like a portfolio career, which again, I think I only learned because of LinkedIn at the top of, I guess, last year or the year before. I learned what a portfolio career is, of just being able to do different things that kind of fit under one big thesis. And for me, it's always been around mental health, around people, around performance, and around like startups, and being able to tackle it through different ways where you're not just 9 to 5 in one thing, but you're able to put 100% into one thing, but then also add different percentages, an extra 10%, into other projects, and that all serve the greater mission. So for people who know that maybe entrepreneurship isn't for them, or they feel there's a lot of pressure right now to build your own thing. I'm not sure if everyone else has felt that, but especially on LinkedIn and on social media, everyone's trying to escape the 9 to 5 and like build your own thing. That is really hard to do. And I'll be interested to see the stats coming up of, the success rates of certain like industries and companies. But being an entrepreneur, joining something really early and being able to build within that is such a fun way of being able to express your creativity and express your passions and your desires within a structure, but have the freedom to kind of wiggle within that structure.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. And for me personally, I believe in kind of like the team. People say, hey, like in this age, with AI tools and solopreneurship, yeah, you can be like a one person. Like Sam Altman is always talking about, like, hey, one person unicorn, and the world is going to see so many one person unicorns, which might be true, but by building something on your own only, there's no like team around you. I think you're kind of missing out the that feeling of being part of the team, and we're doing this together, we're going to the war together. It's like the companionship. So I think you're kind of missing out there. Not saying like that's a terrible way to build something. That could be actually a good way to build something, especially at the beginning. But like somewhere along the line, somewhere along the process, I personally believe in the power of putting together a team and kind of doing it together. Yeah.
It's all about people and team. And I think if I know we'll touch on this, but in-person connection. But in today's day and age, we are all starving for connection. People are desperate for it. Work from home is great. Being remote is great. But at the end of the day, people need people. They need to be around people, whether that's going to a co-working office, whether that's going to a cafe and just sitting and being around people. I remember over the summer when I was doing some contracted work in between roles, there'd be days I wouldn't actually talk to anyone like in person, all be through Zoom and through tech. I was like, I need to go out of the house and talk to people in real life. And we are so, yeah, we really need that right now. We're losing the art of personal connection, but at the same time, we are really desiring it and people are really wanting it. And that's why I think also like with companies like Hubble is being able to bring real life connection and build those real life relationships where it's like, take you and I, for example, like, we can hop on calls, we can like chat, and that connection started, online and still kind of is online, but the relationship feels a lot deeper because we have that connection. And the same thing, I think for founders, the thing that they really need is being around people who've gone through similar things and also who maybe are like 10 steps ahead of them, and finding those communities, being a part of those communities. And it kind of shows you that you're not alone. You're not crazy. You know, you're a little crazy, but you're crazy in all the right ways. And
Right.
just be able to push each other to think bigger, to think bigger, to think bigger, to think bigger, versus being in spaces where you might actually think smaller because you don't want to be that tall poppy, as it's known here, the tall poppy syndrome. The same thing with, like we need to be around people. I don't know actually how successful one person businesses will be. I'll be really curious to see the stats and to see what happens from it, because there's a lot of solopreneurs, but I actually did my thesis on this. So for my master's was around solopreneurship and the rise of one-person businesses and when passion turns to profit. And it was really interesting having those conversations with people of, again, it's all the same problems, time, of overextension, of, photographers turning their businesses into, or their passion into businesses, and the dark side of that. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen like people who are selling the dream of solopreneurship, making a lot of money, like selling
Oh, it's
courses
a
and
great
books.
dream. Are you kidding me? I would
Yeah.
love to be sitting and having a pina colada by the beach as the
Yes.
Stripe notifications come in from that digital product. But
Yeah.
that is just really not the case at all. It's hard.
Yeah. Hey, let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about the content creation. So, yeah, I noticed you're like you weren't. Were you like posting on LinkedIn the whole time, or did something happen and then like you decided to post more on LinkedIn? So, can you take us back to that like moment where, hey, like one day, did you like wake up one morning and then, hey, I'm gonna post on LinkedIn? Like, what happened?
So I have been using LinkedIn since college to find a job. Basically, I was using it as that classic. I went to Williams College for everyone who's in the US, and our alumni system is very strong. And so I would basically every year I would spend hours on LinkedIn finding alumni in industries I wanted to work in, whether that was advertising for a hot second, marketing, retail, consumer retail, tech. And I would just spend all this time messaging them and just like messaging them, like DMing them. And I never knew you could actually post on LinkedIn, or that there was a way to post on LinkedIn other than I'm so excited to announce that I'm doing this internship, or I'm so grateful to have this opportunity and won this grant and did this and this and this. I think honestly, one of the last posts I did before moving to London and kind of starting this whole new career was our Techstars announcement post. I think if we scroll down far enough, I think that's going to be maybe the last post that I did. And it was like that one post I just posted that once. And I'm like, oh my God, Sasha, you could have leveraged that so much and have built such an awesome story and brand talking about doing Techstars while in like college and university. Missed opportunity. It was a missed opportunity, man. And when I went in and again went and did my master's again, didn't really think about LinkedIn at all. Usually use it to find a job. Let me know also how people use LinkedIn and if you've only used it to find a job, because that was me for a long time. As a headhunter, you're on LinkedIn. Like that is part of your job, was to be on LinkedIn and to find people, find companies, find candidates. And I don't know how it happened, but I remember scrolling one day and seeing someone like someone's post, and it was like a normal post. It was like what I would see on Instagram. I was like, what is this? And then kind of went down that rabbit hole, and I downloaded, it was actually Laura Acosta, her like templates or something back like 2 years ago, and looked at them. I was like, oh, you can actually post. And started going down that rabbit hole, doing some research, finding people, connecting with people, and kind of did this as I was working my full-time job as a headhunter. And I actually don't know what got into me, but I remember having a conversation with a mentor, and he told me to just do it. And so I came to him with like little posts that I created to see if they were good enough. And I think the first post I did was on World Mental Health Day 2024. Mental Health Day 2024, which is March. And that was the first post that I think I actually posted. And it was my take on mental health and how I don't believe in the word mental health anymore. I believe in the word mental resilience. And I made a little post about that. And then he reshared it, and then I've kind of started posting from there. And definitely my company was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I kind of made my case, and they're like, okay, whatever, just like do your thing. And I made the case for all the partners to do it, and they didn't. And I think now they're looking at doing it, and I was like, told you. So yeah, for LinkedIn, I don't know why, but there wasn't as much resistance, I think, than posting on Instagram, just because I was like, who's going to see it, you know? And it was a lot easier to do it and not really care as much, because it wasn't as personal as Instagram was. And then I kind of just made a challenge for myself. I was like, I'm going to post every day for 30 days. And I did it. And it got me into the swing of things, started connecting with people, DMing people, say like, oh, like I see you're also posting, like would love to have a conversation. And that's what really built those relationships, and which ended up me getting a job. Yeah, working with Kevin at Hubble was through a relationship that came from LinkedIn, and she's the one that put me forward for Hubble. So you never know. And I think we'll talk about this again, but when people say building a network, I have a lot of mixed feelings about that, because your network is your net worth, but it's the quality of the people and whether or not the people have a reason to fight for you behind closed doors. Because you can build a relation, you can like go to any networking event and just have your phone and scan your LinkedIn, and now you have 10,000 followers or 10,000 whatever connections. But will those connections fight for you behind closed doors? Will those connections open doors for you? Will those connections talk about you and, say your name in rooms that you're not in? That is what building a real network and building a real community is like. And I think starting from day one, intrinsically, that's kind of what I did. I don't know what led me to do that. I think it was just I saw the power of doing that in college and in university, and just did copied and pasted it online. And I think that gets like hand to heart, honest to God, like that's the thing that was able to open up to like change my life, was treating people as people and opening up doors for them and like connecting them with people. And Kevin says this all the time, is just give without asking anything in return. And just like seeing who you can connect people with, how you can help them, and using your content as that, and using your content as a way to just help people and just talk about what you've learned, to have fun and like work things out in a little bit of a Dear Diary approach, but a little bit less, kind of in working it out in real time if that feels good for you. And then when you actually need something in return or have a question for someone, it is such a faster yes than just ask.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot to unpack here, right? Like speaking of the giving first, right? I think that's absolutely true. And, yeah, I mean, even for a community, not just like a one-on-one relationship, but like, there's so many communities, online communities where like people sometimes like post questions only, like, there's like interested in what they're looking for. And then, without like necessarily contributing. So I guess like you have to be ready to contribute, and be like a regular, I guess, like, poster, or like try to see what other people ask and then try to deliver or help there as well. And
Yeah.
talking about the very first post, I think there's like for a lot of people, there's that inherent fear about, it can be anything, right? It can be like, oh, like I'm not as like, I'm not like Elon Musk. I'm not as successful as some of these people are. So who am I to talk about this topic? Or, sometimes you're like, oh, like what if I get like 2 likes? That'd be like looking so bad. So there are like, these concerns and fears. So do you have any words for like thoughts about that? Because inherently people, when they start out,
Yeah.
there's like the fear about the, fewer likes, or like, hey, what if I don't get any response? Or what if like, people see me as like, oh, like poser or something. So can you recall like some of the fears you had, and then how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I would think. For me, I think because I also built up a connection, or like connections, like I didn't start off from zero. And I think I started off with 2,000 connections from just college and doing that. So when I did that first post, I thankfully had like likes on it. And so it wasn't, for me, I've never gone to like that, like thought, only getting 1 like or not getting any likes. So I can't speak as much on that on LinkedIn, but I can speak on it on Instagram, because I just started posting on my personal Instagram and kind of doing that. And that was honestly the scariest thing I've done in a long time, because it was so new. And I had so many people that I've like from like middle school, people who've known me since I don't know when I made that count, 13 or something. So it was 13 or 14. I remember my first username ever on Instagram was Stop for a Minute and Smile, because we were all doing song title names. And it was such a
So that handle
terrifying.
was available.
It was available apparently.
Yeah.
And so it's been through a lot of iterations.
Yeah.
Posting on yeah, it was so terrifying. And for me, the fear was seeing like being a try hard, and like, oh, she's trying to do this whole thing. And you just have to realize that, yeah, you are trying, and like you are trying hard, and
Yep.
you are an imposter because you haven't done this before. And yes, no one's gonna like your shit for a little bit. Just like if you're trying to play a sport, you're going to be shit at it for the first little couple of months. You're learning to play an instrument, you're gonna be shit. It's the beginner's the beginner's mindset. And I suck at that because I like being good at things. So I am first to say that it is really hard to just be crap, but it's almost just looking at it as I read this article when I was doing creative writing in class, and it's called The Shitty First Draft. I recommend every founder read it. Every person needs to read it. It's called The Shitty First Draft. I think it's like 2 or 3 pages, and it just talks about just getting all of the garbage out first, and then you'll get to edit and iterate later. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm learning right now is on Instagram, especially, is that what I post is not the final thing. Like, it's going to evolve. It's going to grow. It's going to get better. And there's, posts I look back on. I'm like, oh, that's cute that I thought that was good. And that's just going to be the constant iteration of it. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Same thing with LinkedIn. I go back to some of the first posts that I wrote and I'm like, oh, you tried. And that's the thing for me. It was looking like a try hard. It was having my friends from college judge me, and it was also having my partners, friends, and family judge me as well. And yeah, that was probably the hardest because you want to be the best person, and that was difficult.
Yeah, by the way, I'm also really enjoying reading the comments here. So Kevin, we all have something valuable to share with the world, even if it changes one person's life or perspective, it's worth it. So yeah, Melissa, likes don't pay the bills.
That is facts.
Sure.
Yes. And I think this is also what helped me is realizing that just have the conversations. I drive my success metrics based on conversations, the DMs that have started, the conversations that I've had off the back of it. And honestly, I've had more people who I thought would be like, what are you doing? Send me a message saying, hey, I've really been loving your posts. I find them really inspirational. I really love reading your content every single day. And there are people that I actually reconnected with, a girl from university that we had a really big falling out, and it was really ugly. We haven't talked to each other for about four plus years. And when I was in New York, she sent me an Instagram DM saying, hey, I see you're in the city. Do you want to come and grab a coffee? And I was like, what? And then I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm feeling a bit spicy today. Let's see what happens. And she was like, I've been reading your posts every single morning. She works in private equity. And she's like, I read your posts every single morning, and it's really inspirational. I kind of want to start doing something similar, and we just kind of rekindled a friendship that I honestly thought was just never going to ever happen again. And you never know where it's going to go, and you never know who's reading. And that's the thing that I think if I can instill into one person is that you have no idea who's reading your posts. And they might not be liking it. They might not be commenting on it, but they're reading it. And they may come to you months later saying, hey, I read that post and I just put you forward for this thing, or I'm connecting with this person. So you have no idea who's reading. And oftentimes the people who, have more tilt aren't going to be engaging with it. But just do it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And also, LinkedIn posts can, or any social media post can help business these days. I mean, it's one of the best, GTM
distribution.
Yeah. So I was talking to a founder yesterday, and she said something really interesting, which was, she's posting regularly on LinkedIn, and she's not getting that many likes. I think she's getting 50, 60 likes on average. So pretty decent, but it's not huge. But she said when she's posting about the industry knowledge and her a unique perspective about this technology. And when she's talking to new customers, hey, how did you know about our company, our product? And most of them said through your LinkedIn post. So they're doing everything. They're doing paid ads. They're doing search engine optimization. They're doing everything, which it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do these things. I mean, you should, probably try to do as many things as possible. But by far, she said the LinkedIn posts have been the most successful. And in terms of conversion, that was really interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the, I guess, like mechanics or the system, or like
Yeah. I
how
know I
you
saw
like
some
typically
comments
post.
being like, tell us the tools and the
Yeah,
systems
the
that you
tools.
use.
Yeah, how do you do it?
Um, People are gonna hate me. I'm about to expose myself so hard. My notes app is my best friend. And I've tried every system. Kat, who's here, our head of marketing, knows that me and Notion, we're learning to become friends. Um, any sort of system where it's like I have to think about it, just we're working on it. We're working on it. Right now, I write all of my content in my notes app, and I have folders for them, and each one has a different sort of what is it? I'm seeing, they're going to show people. I have different folders for like different types of content here,
Mm,
and I will, like last night, I had some thoughts come into my head, and I just grabbed my phone and I just put in the title of that post, which is, this one is, but like, what's your job? Because this is a question I get asked
mm,
all the time. Uh, and, another one is how I think about putting together an event or dinner. And so I have that, like, the idea. And then I use a few, I don't love using AI. I think it can be an amazing tool, but again, there's so much AI slop out there that just completely, I'm just going to turn my light back on, that completely ruins
mm,
any sort of content. And I use Stanley for LinkedIn, which is a tool by Stan Store, for more written content. I use it every now and again, especially when I have a really complex idea. It kind of helps you write it, and it uses your voice and your tone. But again, I like writing all my own content. I'm a creative writer by background as well. So I think for me, I have that upper edge where if you are an engineer or a technical person or someone who just may not have written as many essays as I have in your lifetime, it can be a bit daunting. But for me, like the biggest thing is creating just, I have the Notion, or not Notion, I have my notes page, and then I'll have a folder for kind of content I'm working on, for content that I've done, and for content that I've posted. And I'll always have stuff in there. So on days where I'm really busy, I'll just have something that I can like throw out. But most of the time, I just can put together a post within 20 to 30 minutes and just schlop it up there on the internet.
mhm,
The other things is I think about the questions that people ask me, and people are like, I have nothing to write about. Like, what questions do people have? What questions are people asking you? This is a really great time to use ChatGPT, is to go in
mm,
and let's say you are, um, let me think. Yeah, if you're doing a product, like, physical product, let's say a cup, or you are Trip, and you're wanting to talk more about the brand and stuff, and going to ChatGPT and be like, what questions are people asking about XYZ?
mm,
And then break them down even more and break them down even more to very specific questions, and then start answering those questions in your content. This is why I say to all the experts on Hubble when they're asking me like, what to post and how to post, go and talk to chat about what questions people are asking you about your industry or about what you're building or about this broader topic, and then start answering that question, because I'm sure people are going to be, they want to hear your perspective and your experience. And then in terms of the practical things, like your hook is your most important thing. So learn how to write, like
mm.
learn how to write, or learn how to really use AI in certain ways to really help you get that first hook really good, because people have no attention span right now. No attention span. I'm sure a lot of you are on your phones doing something else right now. And so the attention span right now is, it's not there. So getting that first hook really, really good. And again, using Pinterest as well has lots of really good content ideas and ways, like hooks, templates and stuff. So looking at hook templates, using that, short sentences. Again, if you think about how people are consuming LinkedIn, it's in between meetings, they're on the tube, if you're, yeah, or in between, like on transportation, they're not going to be reading big paragraphs. So I'll see some really incredible posts being written, but like the block of text is huge. And I'm like, no one's going to read that. No one's going to read that. I see a big block of text, I scroll because, you know, we're all lazy. We're not going to be sitting there reading the entire thing. So really making the text post is like one line and making it really easy to digest, bullet points, emojis, things to kind of get people engaged with it. And then a nice picture. The picture is what's called the second hook, or the visual hook. So have like a nice photo to go along with it. And people are always like, oh, but I don't want to post something personal, or I post selfies. I have a star on my face right now because I have a little spot. And I'm like, you know, that would be a perfect little selfie that I would put on the internet. Because people, again, is so dull and bland on LinkedIn that if you show just an inkling of personality, an inkling of just joy, you immediately stand out. And that's kind of the thing that I want to go is the weirder you are, the more you are, the more you find your right people who will then go above and beyond for you. Like that's it. The more that you are yourself and talk about and like write the way you speak. Now that you've all heard me speak, if you go and read my content, it sounds basically the same. I'll add parentheses as kind of my like aside notes that I'll do. I can't use the M dash anymore because ChatGPT ruined it for me. And for all of us creative writers, and we're all very upset about that. So I just do ... as my like M dash. ChatGPT takes the ... I will be very angry calling Sam about that. Yeah, but those are the big things. If anyone has other questions, I'm just going to check the chat as well. But if anyone has other questions around how to utilize it, I'm glad someone else lives. What's a simple framework to turn your lived experience? Yeah. So the simple framework the simple framework is honestly, it's say like what happened to. So for example, I like examples. Today, the last couple of days have been a big test of my patience because I got a new phone. And when you get a new phone, you have to transfer everything over. And then what accidentally happened is I transferred my mom's phone number over. So I've spent the last 2 days trying to talk to T-Mobile overseas about my phone situation. And I tell you, patience was running thin. Patience was running thin. And that showed me, I was like, oh, actually, like, I'm not as calm and regulated as I think I am right now. Interesting. Like, what about the situation is making me really frustrated? And so what I would do is I would go and I would sit down and I would write, I would just kind of like mental word vomit. And I would pick out a hook, which is, I've lied to you. Or like, I've lied to you. And then the second line would be like, it's time for me to come clean. And then I would write something along the lines of, I'm not as calm as you think I am, or how I portray myself to be. I'm actually, my patience has been running really thin. And I'll kind of write that little blurb and tie that into this experience that I just had of dealing with talking to T-Mobile. And that, honestly, that type of content does really freaking well. I have an example of, also I had Wi-Fi issues when I first moved into my flat and was on the phone to EE for 4 months, trying to deal with it. And they kept passing me to different departments. And one day I just snapped and I was very mean on the phone. And I wrote a post about that of just being like, I yelled at my EE lady. And, you know, here's what it is that, like, you know, I proposed to my girlfriend. Here's what it taught me about B2B sales. It is a little bit of that. Like I snapped at my EE lady. Here's what it taught me about nervous system regulation. And that's the framework. People think, and I love, because I used to be this person as well, of like, there's a framework or there's a thing about creating content. Honestly, the main things are just your first 2 lines and like a good story and like learning storytelling. Like the framework is storytelling and learning how to tell a good story. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure who asked that
Yeah.
question, but hopefully that
I really
answers it a
like the
little bit.
aspect. Yeah, I really like the aspect of like not missing on those moments and kind of like connecting those into turning those into like topics, right? So I think that's one thing that people need to like, keep in mind. It's like, hey, we're all going through our day, and then we're all going through our unique experience, and those like little small moments, right? Like you mentioned the note app, and just kind of like catching those like it can be like 2 keywords, 3 keywords, but then just like capturing that, and then you don't have to like sit down and start writing at that point, but then maybe you can like remember that moment, and then, oh, this can be the next
Hmm.
content, that can be the next post, and then just kind of capture like little keywords, and then you can maybe get to it later on, right?
And like voice notes as well. I use my voice note app a lot. And I think to get started, use templates. Everyone says don't use a template. To get started for your first 10 posts, it's okay to use a template. Learn why they're good. And this is where I think there's a difference between using and utilizing. Where using it, you just kind of put it in there and then you just ship it without knowing why it works. It's like you're doing the math equation, but not knowing why the equation works. Versus utilizing it is you're learning why this template works. Why is it that this template about turning your story into action is actually really helpful? And using that for 10 to 12 posts, even for like a few months, just to get in the rhythm and the habit. Like I used templates when I first started because I didn't know how the LinkedIn sort of writing style was. Once you get into the habit of that and knowing how to write the LinkedIn way, which is basically just short sentences and a good hook, you start thinking that way. So I'll start thinking in LinkedIn hooks, which is really annoying. And I'll like be with a friend and like, that's a good hook. And I'll have to write it down. So learn, like use the tools that are out there, but don't rely on them, and really build your own voice. And this is what people, again, I think have the misconception of is they're following you. They're following your voice. They're following your perspective. They're following how you think, not just what you're saying and how you're saying it. And it's not just what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. And so
Yeah.
don't undersell your story and what makes you you. If you're funky and you love just wearing bright clothing and having a certain cadence to your tone, use it. Have lots of bright photos. If you are very like more monotone and kind of subdued and very chill, be more chill in how you write and more philosophical. There's a style for everybody and there's room for everybody. So just lean into that, and it could let it evolve as well. As you get more comfortable in who you are, it's going to evolve. Mine's becoming a lot more chaotic and a lot more because I'm growing into who I am as well and being more comfortable showcasing that online. I actually saw a really good question here, if I can like interject, CK, as well,
Sure,
around
of course.
how did you get into community building? I've always been into community building since I was very, very young. Looking back, it actually makes sense that I'm in the career that I'm in. And I've always known that I love bringing people together. When I was in high school, I was a peer mentor for all the international students coming in who lived in the dorms, and I was helping them assimilate to being in America and living and like going to an American school. So I've always been a mentor. I've always been being around people and kind of supporting and nurturing and being in that nurturing role. That's been me my entire life. I never knew you can actually make that into a job. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that people cared until basically last year when I spoke to Kevin. And that was the first time I think I actually felt, not to get like emotional about it, but like the first time I felt like my skill set and like who I was actually valuable. Because for the longest time, this is when like AI was just kind of becoming engineers, software engineers. everyone had very hard skills, and the hard skill set was always very coveted of going to Microsoft. I'm from Seattle, so going to Microsoft and being an engineer, being a software developer, being an accountant, being a lawyer, doctor, again, things that are even going into consulting or investment banking, having a very like structured skill set. And I've never been that way. And I'll answer that question in a second because it's a funny story and that ties to LinkedIn. And when I moved to London, I didn't know anybody. And I was like, how do I make friends? Everyone has their friend groups. Everyone's kind of in their own spaces. And so I was like, I'm going to go into Facebook groups and I'm going to start a walking group. And so I went to London Lonely Girls Facebook group. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go for a walk on Saturday at 9 a.m. Meet me at this coffee shop. Let's do it. And over time, I built that up to around 150 people. Not all at once on a walk,
Wow.
but, around 10 to 20 of us every single Saturday morning. We would meet at, in a cafe near Hyde Park. We would have brunch and then we would go for a walk. And then I'll later run through meditation practice, breath work, journaling. And it was kind of like a wellness girls group. That evolved into dinners because it's wet in the winter here and no one wants to go on a walk when it's pouring rain. So that moved into dinners and kind of having girls' dinners and building that group. And that's how I built, like, honestly, my best friends. And it kind of just fizzled out because I kind of got what I needed out of it and I didn't really love it anymore. And it was just a lot of effort. And I was like, it's not really for me in this path. And then that's kind of evolved into now my founder dinners and investor dinners and the startup community and building that. And honestly, it really just has always come down to the fact that I've loved bringing people together. And that's why I say, like, follow your passion, because it's follow your passion and also follow what you're good at. I think those can be two different things. And making sure that they are aligned of what you're passionate about and then also what you're good at. And there's a whole ikigai model as well, like it's like what you're good at, what people will pay for, what the world needs. I forget, I think there's one or two other ones. And then, your
What
ideal
gets
job
you
is at the center.
make money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What will make you money, and then something else. And for me, it's been bringing people together, and I'm really good at that, and I love doing it. So I'm very grateful that, and I've stopped saying that I have a job. I started saying I have a career because my career really is around bringing people together. In terms of how I got this job, got into this career path. It honestly comes down to 2 DMs that I've sent on LinkedIn. And this is why, just send people a DM. You have no idea where it's going to go. I sent, his name is James Roycroft Davis, an incredible human. He's one of our experts on Hubble, funny enough. I was trying to break into VC and it was just not happening. It was boys club. It was just not happening. And he DM'd me back saying, call me. This is a Friday, 3 p.m. And I was like, do I call him? My friend was like, yes, call him. So I call him and he was like, hey, I've seen your profile. I love it. I love what you're doing. What are you looking for? Like, what do you think you want to do? What do you want to bring? And I was like, well, I can bring this, this, and this. He's like, okay, cool. Meet me here next week. We'll chat. And then we met and we chatted and ended up having 3 conversations and then brought me on part-time to do founder assessment and evaluation. Now, the funny story about this is that there was a girl that I met on LinkedIn previously, like the year before, who is also from Seattle, and I love how she writes. If you want to know how to write philosophically, Taylor Barnes is your girl. It's Barnes. She is just the most philosophical person, and how she writes is just so beautiful. We became friends on LinkedIn and would just have Zoom calls, FaceTimes, chats, just got to know each other. We've never met in person. But it turns out that as she was also at Evio, she was also at Hubble doing the LinkedIn kind of Hubble's LinkedIn account. And she kept telling me about Hubble and I needed to meet Kevin. And I was like, yeah, we'll get there, whatever. And then one day she's like, listen, they're looking for community, someone to do community. You need to talk to Kevin. Like, you need to do it. Yeah. So I sent Kevin a DM and a message and he added me back. I think honestly, Kevin, it was like 10 minutes later. And then I sent him a photo of Taylor and I on the phone call. And then, then he messaged me saying, we should have a chat, and sent me a Zoom link. Again, connected, and here we are now. I don't know, almost 6 months later. And it all came down to someone else opening the door for me in a room that I wasn't in, because I built that relationship online that ended up going offline. And it was those two people that honestly changed the trajectory of my career and the trajectory of how I view myself in this ecosystem and also just this world. And so this is why I'm so passionate about just being a good person online, building the brand that feels good for you in this moment and what it looks like, and being as human as possible. There's it is bot central out there. Just being as good of a person for other people, supporting them, caring about them, and it will come back full swing. And that's kind of how I got that, and how this is here.
Yeah, I really, really love it. So we're unfortunately, I mean, this can go on forever, but we're on time here. So out of respect for
Yeah.
people here, let's kind of start wrapping up here a little bit. So I have a son's last question. How do you see this role? This will be probably the last question for us.
Oh boy.
Hubble role versus you personally evolving in the next 5 years.
In 5 years. Oh, we're hitting that Series A, baby. Oh gosh. Oh man. That's a really good question.
Or, how do you see like the community managing in general, like
Yeah.
evolving? Because I mean, like, in this world, in this agent world where AI is all about the AI, but as you mentioned, like, human relationship is becoming more important, right? So
Kevin, go
yeah,
share your vision. We
yes, please.
are honestly in 5 years' time. Hubble it's a chat GPT for startups getting advice. You have a question, you go on Hubble. It is the end-to-end ecosystem of startups, and to really enable, investors, operators to, share their time, but also for founders to get unstuck within 15 minutes, and you're just in, you're there. And how that, with me and how I see it is just being very much such a strong, building it into Europe very, very strongly, and building it into the US, obviously. I'm a big events person. My team knows this. I'm an in-person person. I love events, and just being able to put on these just incredible, if it's a conference, if it's an event, if it's, what's what I'm looking for, dinners, experiences, to make the founder journey honestly enjoyable. Because as we've all said, and as we all know, it's really hard, and you keep going to these networking events trying to get something out of it, but you're just there with 10 empty connections and you're tired. And so with Hubble, and how I see, myself growing within it, is just really building the people behind it, really building the founders, instilling, just, we made our Hubble 10 commandments the other day, and just making sure that the experience for every founder is top notch, and challenging myself every single day with how that service is delivered. And eventually I'd love to be an organizational queen, as my title for organizational psychology, but we're working on the organizational part. I think personally it really is being able to connect more dots, and connecting more services and more types of people that really shouldn't be in the room together, but belong in the same room together. So bringing in lawyers, bringing in accountants, bringing in, operators, and helping this journey from 0 to 1 be so seamless. It's going to be simple. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be simple. And have a hell of a time doing that. So I hope that answers that question. That was fun. So I appreciate that.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. Hey, I really, really enjoyed the conversation here. And this has been really, really great. And thank you for your time and sharing your thoughts. And thanks everybody for joining this
Thank
call.
you, everyone. And I also
Yeah.
forgot to mention, for tools, use Saywise. Like,
Of course.
that's why
Yeah.
we're here.
Of
Use
course.
Saywise as a way to make your content creation easier, especially if you're a talker like me. Being able to articulate and verbally articulate what you're thinking is so much easier than trying to sit down and write it out on a blank screen. Especially if you are a
Yeah.
responder and need questions to be asked. It's the best thing to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, for those people who joined the call here today, yeah, we're gonna, I guess, maybe send like a special code, so that you can, like, if you want to try it out, you can use our special code. So we'll get back on that. All right, this is a wrap. Thanks. Yeah, this has been really, really awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. I'm really excited. Yeah, and let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will say, as a precursor, I take a little bit to respond. So please nudge me with just a comment or something. If I have 2,000 plus responder DMs and connection requests.
Yeah,
So
you're a very public
yeah.
person, so
I know, so I'm like, I feel bad. People like, I messaged you. I'm like, I didn't see it. So please, yeah, message me with your
yeah,
takeaways or any questions that you have. Would love to chat. And if you have any more questions for either of us, see us on Hubble. I'm on Hubble. CK is on Hubble. So if you have any questions for him, book with
Hubble.social.
him.
Yep.
Hubble.social, book with me on Hubble, to talk more about your content and how to really use those stories to build content, and talk to CK about literally everything of being a founder and investor, because this man knows everything.
I'm not sure about. I'll try. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
All right,
I hope you guys had a good time.
Take care. All right.